there's a deeper level to all this. We're just at the surface level. Maybe we're on the first floor. I'm gonna go ahead and do this as a separate video because nobody likes really long intros. At least I assume so. The David Naffel guys, there's 4 people doing reactions to Lost. Their intros be like fucking 6, 7, 8 minutes long. They're doing like polls and which Slytherin house are you gonna be in or which Lost house you're gonna be in or whatever, right? And once I get about 30 seconds into this shit, I'm just scrolling over until I see a video box that shows that the reaction started. And with those motherfuckers, man, it'll be like 8 or 9 minutes in the video. I'm like, holy shit, man. And again, I'm not shitting on other reactors. I'm just saying this is how motherfuckers react. I react as an audience member, is what I'm saying. So I'm going to scroll over till I see the video box. But so this is going to be its own separate video. Because otherwise, this would be like this would be one of the things I'm bitching about, a 9-10 minute intro. But what's going on is I just watched episode 13, which is a recap of the first 12 episodes. So I want to do a recap video of the first 12 episodes myself. First of all, a couple observations from rewatching from episode 13. I do think it's valuable. It wasn't worth doing a reaction to, obviously, because it's shit we already know. And everybody was telling me to skip. They also said skip episode 26 for the same reason. But skip doing a reaction anyway. I watched it, and 2 things stood out to me. Number one, I had forgotten that Killua said he didn't care about becoming a hunter. He just heard that the hunter's exam was very, very difficult. And apparently he's doing it for kicks. That's actually very important characterization. I had completely forgotten about that. And it's when they're walking up the steps is when he talks about it. So what that tells me is that he is probably going to wash out at some point because he's not doing this to become a hunter. He's doing this for the fun of it to challenge himself, essentially. And I've said before, I don't think all 4 of them are going to make it all the way through. I don't think he's going to make it through. And I don't think Kay is going to make it through. I think it's going to be Gon and Leoria. This it's basically confirmation bias for me. That at some point, because he doesn't have the fire in the belly, I guess, down here. He doesn't have the burning desire in the heart and the fire in the belly, I guess is what I'm trying to say. To become a hunter, that's not the end all be all. That's not why he's there. He's there for, it's kind of like, you want to become an actor so you can be famous. Then you don't really want to become an actor, you want to become famous. Those are 2 different goals, right? So he just wants to challenge himself. So I think once he gets to a point, he's like, okay, I challenged myself, all done, he's going to wash out. Also, I still believe they're setting them up to be rivals or enemies at some point. It's the hero origin story and the villain origin story. I can't shake that feeling. I could be totally wrong. He could just be an anti-hero. But I just feel like Killua, at some point, they're going to be on opposite sides. Maybe in a sequel series or something, because I don't know if this series just encompasses becoming a hunter, and then the moment he's a hunter, the series is over, or if they have a life after that. But I think after Gon becomes a hunter, Killua is going to be his adversary. So I can't shake that feeling. And watching the Cliff Notes didn't do anything to dissuade me of that. Also, I'd forgotten how adversarial Leoria and Kay were at the very beginning on the boat. How they were ready to fight each other. And seeing the clips again reminded me, okay, yeah, I totally remember it. It wasn't like, but so much has happened since then. And so I think that is a very bonding element. It just, it deepens my appreciation for their relationship. Because most of the time I'm just focused on Gon's relationship with everybody. But when you have a group of 4, you have Gon's relationship with the other 3 people, but then those people have relationships with each other outside of Gon. And I think I've kind of got lost in the sauce as far as it goes. I hadn't really been paying as much attention to their relationships with each other, just their relationships with him, because he's my entry into the world. He's my character POV, I guess we call it. So he's the character I care about the most. But as an audience member, it's always important to understand there's this other shit going on in the background. When you're in a room with 10 people, you have your separate relationship with these 10 people, but they have their own relationships, which may impact what happens with you. That's why Littlefinger's so successful, because he can play in all that shit. He's like, he can go into another person's point of view. Okay, what did they get out of all this? How did they see all these people? And a lot of people don't do that. They just think about it from their point of view. Another thing that's interesting, just seeing the whole series as a whole, just summed up in 22 minutes, was the economy of this world is interesting to me. Because, first of all, you have these hunters, and they're finding lost treasure, but there's only so much lost treasure in the world. They're killing monsters, presumably for pay. say, just say France was being terrorized by a dragon. I assume they would hire a hunter to come in and take out a dragon, kind of like the Witchers, right? I assume. I mean, I'm making assumptions here. And I assume they'd pay a lot for this hunter to come in and take out this dragon or this turtle with the spikes coming out or whatever the fuck is bothering them, right? Or if they need somebody assassinated, I assume that's also part of it. And another thing that was interesting is Killua asks Gon when they're on the steps, what kind of hunter do you want to be? And like I said before, this is something I missed the first time. Like that conversation where they were running up the stairs as a race. It was a long episode. They're all running and shit, and there was so much conversation happening. I missed some key parts of it. And that was something else I didn't hear the first time going through this. And I think that's a very interesting question because clearly there are different types of hunters. That's what it implies, right? So maybe there's hunters that only deal with taking care of beasts. And maybe there's hunters that do assassinations. And maybe there's hunters who look for treasure. I assumed every hunter did everything. They're like a jack of all trades, but it sounds like they're specialized. And Killua even says, well, how can you be the same kind of hunter as your father if you don't know what kind of hunter he was? Good question. I have a feeling this will be relevant later. So, so it was very worthwhile to watch this thing. But getting back to the whole economy situation, the economics of it. Because I can't shake the feeling that this tournament is very fucking expensive to run. They're all over the world. They're hiring airships. They've got all kinds of employees. Maybe the teachers themselves, the examiners themselves aren't being paid. Maybe they do it to give back to the guild, right? That they're hunters. Once a year, they have to, donate a couple days back to the guild, payment free. But still, either they own the land, which maybe they're paying property taxes off. They have to buy the land, or maybe they're renting the land. There's this massive area of land, and there's no regular pedestrians walking through these areas, except for that village at the very beginning. When they landed on the ship. Other than that, like in the woods and stuff. So somebody's formed a perimeter and is keeping out everybody but hunter applicants and monsters or whoever else is going to challenge them. And this is over a wide growth of area. And then they've got this massive tower, so there's, this shit would be expensive. And so they do just as a job interview. Most job interviews, maybe when you go into a town, you rent a fucking hotel meeting room, which is $100 to $150 a day. And then send the person out there. So all told, to interview 100 applicants in one day in, say, Detroit, maybe you invested $1,000 in that. If we're talking about renting a hotel room, travel, and food for one or two people, maybe you invested $1,000. These motherfuckers are burning $1,000 a second. So what that implies is people who become hunters generate a lot of income for the guild or whoever it is that's running this. Somebody's running this. Somebody or a group of people are organizing and throwing these applicant events. And they're doing it not out of the kindness of their own heart, I'm assuming they're doing it for an economic benefit. So my point is hunters must generate a tremendous amount of money, which makes me wonder why. Are there a lot of beasts that have to be taken care of and a lot of assassinations needed? Is there still a lot of treasure to be discovered? Etc. So my point of all this, other than just being in my nerd bag, is I think there's an ulterior motive here. I think there's something that we haven't been told yet that is behind all this. There's a deeper level to all this. We're just at the surface level. Maybe we're on the first floor. Up at floor 22, there's another motive behind all this. So maybe they're even operating at a loss. Maybe they're building an army. Maybe they expect an invasion or something. Or maybe there's some war coming that we haven't been told about yet. And this guild needs a lot of hunters to form the ranks of their army. That's one possibility. There could be other possibilities. We just don't know enough yet. But it makes me all very suspicious. So, so those are just a couple of thoughts I came away with. Obviously, it'd be hard for you to reply to this without giving spoilers because at this point as I record this, I've only seen up to episode 13. Now, when I finish recording this, I'm going to watch a couple more, but still, I won't be very far in the series. So just careful for the spoilers. But what would be interesting if you tell me if you had any of these thoughts at this point, if you even just when you saw it as a cheesy clip, so you just skip it. Because to be fair, most people when they're watching this are paying a lot more attention because I'm talking, I'm making jokes, and I'm drinking while I'm watching this. So I'm not going to catch everything. So this is probably more of a necessity for somebody like me than somebody like you that maybe watched it 2 or 3 times and then during the week where you're waiting for a new episode to come out. So maybe those kind of people, this would absolutely 100% not be necessary. You'd have picked up on what kind of hunter you're going to be. I'm not in this to be a hunter, all these little things that I missed. So, all right, well, I'm going to get on to episode 14.